recognizing Israel. Today, there are reports MBS told President Trump Saudi Arabia is ready to work on joining the accords, but only if there is a clear path towards a Palestinian state. And that's really been the focus for Saudi Arabia throughout some time now. Back to you.
It'll be interesting to get the Prime Minister of Israel's response to that in itself, which we'll watch for. John Huddy joining us. John, thank you. We'll continue this discussion here with our panel. Ken Timmerman is the author of The Iran House, Tales of Revolution, Persecution, War, and Intrigue. He is also a senior fellow at the America First Policy Institute. And retired Army Brigadier General Mark Kimmett is the former Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs. Thank you for joining us, by the way, as we center up my camera here. A lot to unpack in John Huddy's report about the U.S. potentially providing F-35s to that region. Ken, can I start with you on that? What does that mean in terms of wanting peace in the Middle East? Could that shift the balance of power? And also, what this could potentially mean if they jump on board with the Abraham Accords. Remember, they want Palestinian statehood. The Prime Minister of Israel, that may be something that's a non-starter for him.
Well, I don't see the Israelis protesting this sale very verbally and very openly or vigorously. I think they actually cooperate with the Saudis on security. They have been cooperating with the Saudis when it comes to Iran, and even to a certain extent on the Houthis. And I think this just shows you how close Saudi Arabia is to joining the Abraham Accords. The Crown Prince obviously still has to mouth the words about a path to Palestinian statehood. But I think now the emphasis is on a path rather than statehood. And I think that's a big development.
All right, well said. I want to get to this very contentious moment, this exchange between President Trump and an ABC News reporter in the Oval Office. This was all during that sit-down visit with the Saudi Crown Prince. General, I'll get your thoughts on this. Among other topics, that reporter brought up the 2018 assassination of the Washington Post journalist Jamal Kashoggi. Watch this.
Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president, is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the worst in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
So, you know, the intelligence points otherwise, but just getting back to the line of questioning with obviously the Saudi Crown Prince sitting in that moment, what do you make of the line of questioning by the ABC reporter? Was that an appropriate question? Was that an appropriate setting? Your overall thoughts watching that exchange?
Well, I think it would have been an appropriate question if that same scrutiny was put on President Biden. President Biden visited Saudi Arabia 2 times. You remember the famous fist bump the first time. He shook the hand of MBS the second time. So listen, I always expect reporters to ask hard questions, but I also expect them to be balanced and fair, that they put the same opprobrium on anybody involved in this as they have on President Trump.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, pointing back to the previous administration. Predictably, the New York Times, not a fan of the visit from the Saudi Crown Prince. Here's what they wrote. This is an opinion piece. Keep that in mind. New York Times. Throughout their joint appearance, Mr. Trump seemed more interested in producing a smooth, lavish visit that could pave the way for up to $1 trillion of Saudi investment into the United States than the implications of the findings of the U.S. intelligence agencies. On Tuesday, Mr. Trump heaped praise and state dinner-style honors upon the Crown Prince, whom he has long treated like a business partner instead of a pariah. And with that said, Ken, your overall thoughts to that opinion piece from the New York Times?
Well, Shaun, let me just point this out. I remember that so-called intelligence report very, very well that concluded that the Crown Prince should have known about the murder of Jamal Kashoggi, that he was probably in charge of the intelligence services and the individuals who carried it out. It was hedged, it was caveated so heavily that it was not an intelligence report at all, and one wonders why it was released. And the answer is very clear, is that the Biden administration wanted to embarrass the Crown Prince. This guy, Jamal Kashoggi, let's not forget, was a Qatari agent. He was writing op-eds for the Washington Post. He was not a Washington Post reporter. He was an occasional columnist, and he was writing op-eds against the Saudis on behalf of the Qataris. He was paid by the Qatari government. That's not to excuse what happened to him. It's just to put it into context. But the intelligence report did not conclude that the Crown Prince knew or ordered the murder. They said he should have known, he could have known, he must have known. Coulda, shoulda, woulda is not intelligence.
All right, we'll leave it there. Ken Timmerman joining us. Thank you so much for that. Brigadier General Mark Kimmett, we appreciate you. All right, great discussion there. Meanwhile, this is a successful first 48 hours of